Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media, and welcome to this week's iteration of the Government Accountability Series. Now, Operation Recover or Loot was a solemn pledge made by President John Dramani Mahama to the Ghanaian people as part of his efforts to tackle corruption frontally. Since the beginning of this year, Operation Recover or Loot has been in full swing and has been led by the Honorable Attorney General. Since then, he has briefed us regularly on the work that he has put into making Operation Recover or Loot a reality. Today, he is here once again to brief us on two subjects. The first relates to investigations and efforts to hold former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to account. And the second has to do with some work that has been done to disrupt and for fraudulent purposes. The Attorney General will brief us on some work done to disrupt the activities, and invite to the microphone the Honorable Dominic Ayine, who is Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Honorable Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Government Communication. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My fellow countrymen and women, today's press conference centers around a groundbreaking investigation and recovery of proceeds of crime by the Economic and Organized Crime Office. But before I proceed to provide the details of the investigation and its outcomes for the extradition of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and his chef de cabinet, Mr. investigated acts of corruption and corruption-related offenses by the former Finance Minister and his accomplices. That is this year. My office received a formal request from the Office of the Special Prosecutor to initiate extradition proceedings for Kenneth Ofori-Atta and Ernest Darko Akore from the United States of America. Following a preliminary review, our International Cooperation Unit observed that certain aspects of the request required clarification and enhancements to align with the applicable legal and procedural requirements. We communicated these observations to the Office of the Special Prosecutor via a letter dated 25th November 2025 and requested supplementary documentation to ensure completeness. On December 9th, 2025, the Office of the Special Prosecutor provided a requested additional documentation and addressed the observations that we raised, thereby finalizing the extradition request packages. Subsequently, on December 10th, 2025, my office transmitted the complete request to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for onward transmission to the competent authorities in the United States of America. That is, in this case, the Department of Justice of the United States. At this point, it is left to the American authorities, especially the judicial authorities, to make a determination on whether a sufficient basis exists for the two accused persons to be extradited to Ghana to stand trial. And because the matters have already been filed, and because they have been filed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I am not permitted to go into the details of the charges. But the charge sheet is a public document and has been made available. And all of you, I'm sure, have access to it. There are 78 charges against Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta and his accomplices, and they border on causing financial loss to the state, using public office for private benefit, and so on and so forth. So you can look at the charge sheet and then make up your minds with respect to the charges. So I won't comment on them in today's press conference. Basically, what I want Ghanaians to know is that this government is committed to accountability. And the government has taken the requisite steps that are legally required for to be brought to Ghana to face justice. As I indicated earlier, it is now left to the judicial authorities in the United States to assess the entire package that we have presented to find out whether there is sufficient basis for him to be extradited. But as I mentioned earlier, the major announcement that I have this morning is in relation to an investigation conducted by the Economic and Organized Crime, which led to a very big recovery of directly under the office of the Attorney General. Since assuming office as the Attorney General, I have worked closely with the Executive Director of the office, that is EOCO, Mr. Raymond Archer, and the management and staff of the EOCO to ensure that the fight against economic and organized criminal enterprises is sustained. The investigation I'm about to announce and the results of that investigation, which by the way is still ongoing, was complex and at the same time groundbreaking. In or around 2019, a criminal network comprising most fraudulent investment schemes. The gangs, according to official records obtained by was described as general trading and online trading and marketing. This is how the criminal enterprise worked. The victims were permitted to purchase products online from the company's e-commerce website by paying a registration fee. Once the victims signed on, they were encouraged to purchase investment packages, which range from 770 Ghana cedis to 9,000 to promote fraudulent investment and categorize the investment into classes. So they had VIPs, would enhance or increase. Victims were informed that they would make fantastic earnings by operating trading accounts as well as owning an online shop and trading in the company's goods on its online platform. Typical of most Ponzi schemes, victims were encouraged to embark on recruiting other victims through networking and referral systems. These investment packages could also be purchased via virtual currencies. The payments to the company in Ghana were either made by mobile money, cash, or via a crypto wallet. The criminals produced a how-to video demonstrating how to make payment using virtual currency. This video greatly assisted the Economic and Organized Crime Office in tracing the crypto wallet, which was used to receive the money and launder the proceeds of the criminal enterprise. Using very sophisticated cryptocurrency transactions on a blockchain, the EOCO identified the transfer of funds into the cryptocurrency wallet on a crypto exchange platform called OKX, which was located offshore Seychelles. Investigations suggested that the criminal cluster, which EOCO was pursuing, had been found to be fraudulent. The suspicion of fraud stemmed from the fact that over 1,000 transactions from this cluster originated from a particular computer IP address and from a particular customer information from OKX, who showed that the owner of the crypto wallet, a Chinese national who worked in Ghana under a residence permit and also worked for the company which was used to defraud several Ghanaians and British citizens. This Chinese individual was also named by Ghanaian victims as a person who directly received funds from them in respect of the fraudulent investment scheme. The office also worked with OKX to notify the holders of the wallets. Realizing that the wallets had been frozen, the suspects sent emissaries to Ghana for further investigation. In the course of the investigation, the company which was used to defraud Ghanaians and British victims was closed down and its operations disappeared into thin air. Faced with a daunting task, EOCO applied to the Malaysian authorities for mutual legal assistance with a view to tracking down the directors of the criminal enterprise, which it had established through investigations was Malaysian. There was no response from the Malaysian authorities. EOCO became aware that the criminal scheme, which was operated and promoted by Chinese and Malaysian nationals, was a global operation that targeted victims in developing countries in Africa. Therefore, and faced with the lack of cooperation from the Asian authorities, EOCO turned to the National Crime Agency of the United Kingdom for assistance and also enlisted the services of Comply Crypto Depository, a crypto asset management and realization company based in the UK, to facilitate the transfer of the tainted virtual assets from all the 4 seized crypto wallets that received the virtual currency transfers from the criminal cluster to a virtual asset custodian company called Zodiac Custody. Zodiac thus worked with EOCO to hold the virtual currencies under the control of the applicant, that is EOCO, until the assets were realized in fiat value and transferred into a bank account in the name of the applicant. EOCO then turned to Ghana's jurisdiction that OKX should transfer all crypto assets in its custody to Zodiac, and for Zodiac also to realize same into currency, fiat currency, and pay its dollar equivalent into the EOCO exhibit account. Additionally, the High Court ordered that upon the receipt of the funds, EOCO should cater to the victims of the crime. Through this approach, EOCO successfully used our local laws to freeze and recover virtual assets hidden in foreign jurisdictions. As a result, on November 19, 2025, Zodiac Custody successfully converted the said crypto assets of the criminal enterprise and paid same to EOCO's exhibit account in the amount of 15 million cents. As demonstrated above, the criminal enterprise targeted our citizens, defrauded them, and laundered the criminal proceeds into cryptocurrency to hide the proceeds from the reach of Ghana's law enforcement. Have been successfully involved screening both Ghanaians, and Mahama stated during a recent press conference, Ghana will no longer be a safe place for any form of criminal activity which seeks to target our economy, our financial system, and our citizens. This case should therefore serve as a clear warning that EOC currency and that no foreign jurisdiction is too far from the long arm of Ghanaian law enforcement. Since EOCO's Shiza, the international law enforcement community has been buzzing with excitement about what they consider to be a remarkable innovation and success in modern law enforcement through the use of the non-conviction-based asset recovery approach to recover such substantial sums of money. The use of local laws to target, freeze, realize, and repatriate proceeds of tainted virtual assets in foreign jurisdictions. On November 5, 2025, both the National Crime Agency of the UK and the National... Consequently, I would like to the Executive Director, Mr. Raymond Archer, and his 2 deputies, who endured tireless days and nights in ensuring that these foreign criminals who targeted our economy and our citizens were denied the proceeds of their criminal enterprise. I would also like, on behalf of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, and also on my own behalf, to thank our partners, especially the National Crime Agency of the United Kingdom, whose relentless support and guidance has been instrumental in the success of this case. I would like also to thank our third-party non-state actors such as Zodiac Custody UK, Chain Analysis UK, OK Exchange UK, and the European banks, whose understanding and compliance have paved the way for a breakthrough in innovative cryptocurrency investigations for a safer and credible virtual asset space that protects the vulnerable and ensures accountability. Most importantly, the Economic and Organized Crime Office and my office would like to extend, which is going to set a new benchmark for international law enforcement, especially on the continent of Africa in respect of how to apply local laws to target virtual assets in foreign jurisdictions. In particular, the EOCO would like to thank her leadership, Justice Gwendolyn Millicent Owusu of the High Court Economic and Financial Crime Division for her leadership, guidance through the process. Without her understanding of the complexities of this case, that this achievement would nearly have been impossible. As you may have realized, we have omitted the names of the criminals. This case remains active, and its Organized Crime Office as a law enforcement agency has seen rapid transformation in the execution of its statutory mandate. This has been evident in the work that the office has done in this year alone. You recall that 2 high-profile cases, or investigations involving the National Signal Bureau and the Buffer Stock Company have been completed and are, before the courts for trial. And trials have started, in both cases. Other dockets have been completed and are awaiting review by my office prior to charges being filed. And I'm sure the Minister for Government Communications will confirm later that we have another announcement to make on Monday involving some high-profile, politically exposed persons that got themselves involved in certain criminal activities. Now, in terms of recoveries, the economic and organized crime has exceeded the 2020.4 million. This figure means that it has exceeded its 2025 recovery by over 133.4 million. This is the highest recovery in the history of the agency. The recovery represents completed cases of both direct and indirect recoveries. Direct recoveries are recoveries that are deposited directly into the exhibit account of the office. This currently stands at about 194 million. Indirect recoveries, on the other hand, are recoveries that are paid directly to either GRA or the consolidated fund. This amount stands at 142.6 million. The success story of the Economic and Organized Crime Office shows that institutions matter, but institutional leadership is crucial to the success of the institutions we create as a country. The current leadership of the EOCO shows that when leadership bestows integrity, institutions perform their mandated functions optimally. At the national level, we are witnesses to the leadership being provided by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Without his committed support for my office and the EOCO, we would not have been here today. We are grateful for support. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the announcement. So the basic takeaway is that through very complex, very groundbreaking investigations conducted by one of Ghana's foremost law enforcement agencies, we have recovered 15.191 million United States of American dollars. Some of that money will go to pay victims that were defrauded, but a greater part of the money will be retained, and then paid into the public kitty. So this is the announcement for today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will now take them.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Attorney General, for that crisp briefing. So for those of you in the media present here who have questions for him in relation to the subject matter of today's press conference or any matter that is under his jurisdiction, you are free now to walk to the microphone, identify
even though you are accounting to the people. People think that that would be much better. Would you agree? Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for your question. Is there any other, please? All right. So I would invite the Attorney General to answer these questions. Thank you very much.
Relates to the principle of reciprocity, whether we should expect that the U.S. authorities, having taken some Ghanaians by way of extradition to the United States of America, will also, in exchange, reciprocate by extraditing Ken Ofori-Atta to Ghana. Now, the principle of reciprocity, multilateral treaty, or a multilateral, persons accused of crime that are found within its territory to another country, usually extradition cannot take place. In the case of Ghana and the United States of America, there is a 19 Great Britain, Maryland. Now, that treaty expired as far as the the United Kingdom is concerned. So it's no longer applicable between the United States and the United Kingdom. But it has not expired. It was renewed when we became independent. Now, if you look at Article 3 of extraditable offenses, and then it also provides the principles of extradition, okay, of which is based upon certain legal principles, okay. Now, if the extraditor if the offense, for instance, does not fall within the ambit of the extraditable offenses provided under the treaty, it will be very difficult for the person to be extradited. Okay, if, for instance, there is a sense that persecution will take place rather than prosecution, that a person will not be treated fairly if extradited, it's most likely, extradition will not take place. If you cannot show by your extradition packet, that is the request that you have sent, come to a conclusion, a reasonable conclusion that a crime has been committed, even though you still have the burden to prove that crime beyond reasonable doubt, the principle of reciprocity applies. Okay, and I would have been very happy to hand over Abutrika as I have done, okay, and then get Ofori-Atta quickly in return. All right, but usually the extradition proceedings take place in a court of competent jurisdiction. In our case, that is the district court. All right. In the U.S., it will also be the federal district court. Now, mind you, the person who is the subject matter of extradition will fight it in court. Okay, so the American authorities won't just take my request and say, here you are, here is Ken Ofori-Atta, and then here is, his other accomplished, and you take them, and then they can face trial. It will have to go through court proceedings in the U.S. All right, and I just got to know, that he has hired some of the top. Yesterday, I got to know that he has hired some of the top lawyers in the United States of America, very experienced lawyers, to defend him. Now, I'm not afraid at all. All right, I am not afraid at all, but it means that there's going to be a fight in the federal courts in the U.S. If the district court says no, he will go to the circuit court. All right. If the circuit court says no, he's entitled to go to the U.S. Supreme Court to fight his case. So I cannot tell you that he will come tomorrow or he will come the next day. Okay. And I'm just being honest. Accounting to the people means being explicit and truthful. So this is what we are faced with. But I have, on behalf of the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we have taken the requisite steps to bring him to Ghana to face trial. And if I were him, this is his home. He should just join the next flight and come here. Under my watch, he will not be treated unfairly. He will go through due process and be prosecuted just like any other person, just like Kobina Edubohin or Hanan or any of the persons that I have filed charges against. Now, Hanan, you ask You asked two questions. The first one is about how soon. I just wrote how soon, but I think I have forgotten precisely the question that you asked. Okay, yeah. So I have answered that aspect. Now you also talked about some contradictions arising out of the court proceedings. My approach or strategy is always to inform the Ghanaian public my prior to filing charges. All right? And despite what anyone says, all right, that for me is the best way to tell the people the steps you've taken, the results you've obtained, all right, before you go and file charges. So I'm not going to abandon that strategy. And I can tell you from where I sit, there was no contradiction. Okay? Whatever happens, $7 million were transferred, public BNC into the witness statement, the documentary evidence, including bank transfer, advice, okay? Advice slips, that showed that $7 million was transferred. Counsel for Edubohin, the Honorable Atachia, spent a lot of time cross-examining on the exchange rate. And that is where this whole issue about whether it was 7 million, it was 49 million, or it was, whatever. $7 million were transferred. All right? So the exchange rate for me is of no moment as far as my case is concerned. And ladies and gentlemen, take it from me. Even if I succeed in proving that one city, okay, Hanan, listen to me. You ask the question. Even if I succeed in proving that one city of public money was stolen, I have made my case. So this whole debate about how much was transferred or not is of no moment to me. From a purely criminal law point of view, it is of no moment to me. All right? The judge is not going to strike my case, throw my case out because I have not proven that exactly 49 million was stolen. Once I can prove that even one city was stolen, all right, he's guilty of stealing. All right? And for those of you in the media, I keep saying that ask the critical questions. If you have the access to the witness statements which we have filed, all right, ask yourself, okay, in March 2020, 16 million Ghana cedis was put into fixed deposit accounts in Kobna Edubohin's name. Was that public expenditure of the money? That verse way. But I just want to ask the critical questions, because what the strategy that Kobna Edubohin and his acolytes in the social media and mainstream media have engaged in is to continuously misreport. At some point in time, I thought of bringing applications for contempt because they are undermining the very administration of justice. Have you ever seen or heard my deputy, the Honorable Justice Srimsai, commenting on the case after court? I have given him strict instructions. We don't do that. All right? We are the leaders in a manner that adversely, affects the case that is being made in court. But this is what they have been doing. So they get bloggers, they pay everyone to be saying things that are not. So for instance, if you say, the evidence is now coming out that Ghana must go bags of money were being transferred, it's normal at the national security. For God's sake, I didn't say, if you look at my case, I never said that Kobna Edubohin stole money in Ghana must go bags. Have I made that case? So what is the relevance of the Ghana must go bags argument? All right, I leave it to you, to your judgment. But if you look at my case, there were bank transfers. And I also have evidence of how the money was spent. Okay? How the money was spent. From March 2020 to August 2020, he had finished spending the $7 million. Whether you are whatever exchange rate of exchange you are using, the money was finished, and I have all the bank details, including transfers of 200,000, 100,000, who took it and what. I have all of that. All right. So please, the media, ask the critical questions of them. Because I have briefed you, I have briefed Ghanaians, I have made my case, to the Ghanaian people, all right? Nothing has contradicted the evidence that I have presented. And mind you, there is no way that I, given my years of professional experience, will come and tell the Ghanaian people one thing when I do not have the evidence to prove it in court. All right? So you watch the space. When my investigator takes the stand, you will understand very well the case that we've made in court. And from are there any more questions? Okay.
Yeah. Maxwell Ababa, Joy FM. Joy FM Joy News here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've been talking about the extradition. We've been seeing a lot of extradition of our nationals to other countries to face justice. But we've also seen the repatriation of nationals from neighboring countries, some of them engaged in cyber crime, some of them engaged in romance fraud and all of that. Sometime in April, the Interior Minister actually said that we are not interested in prosecuting our neighbors who come in and then engage in cyber, crime and then romance fraud. I have the specific quote there. He said sometime in April 2025, Daily Graphic actually published that. I don't have my phone here. I would have pulled out the exact quote. Fraud, those who come from neighboring countries are going to continue repatriating them, or we would prosecute them. I'm asking this because I think on Sunday, the Cybersecurity Authority made a major, arrest somewhere around Kaswa. Are we going to prosecute those people, or repatriate them? Because it will be counterproductive if we repatriate them. Some of them will just jump on the next available bus and then come back to Ghana. My second question has to do with the Cybersecurity Amendment Bill 2025. I know your office contributes actually in the drafting of bills, and you have legal oversights in that area. Many have raised concerns that aspects of that bill criminalizes free speech. They say that it also duplicates functions that other state institutions are already providing. President Mahama, I remember the GJ Awards, stated that he's heard the concerns of civil society organizations, and something is going to be done about that particular bill. I want to find out from you, have these concerns reached your desk, and what changes are we likely?
Repatriation and prosecution. Well, I don't remember precisely what the Honorable Minister for the Interior said with respect to whether we will repatriate those who have engaged in romance scam, or will prosecute them here in Ghana. But granted that he said he will rather repatriate them to their countries of origin rather than prosecute them. All right. You always have a choice. And in the case of romance scam in particular, the victims may not be Ghanaians. All right. The crime would have taken place within the territory of Ghana. In other words, within the jurisdiction of Ghana, meaning that Ghana has, authority or the power to prosecute the persons involved in that crime. All right. But it is also the case that the country of the victims will also have the power to prosecute. All right. The choice that you have to make is whether you want to expend resources prosecuting them, or you want to repatriate them. And if you are repatriating them, you have to give reasons to the country. Let's say that they are Nigerians. We don't just repatriate by taking them to the Nigerian border and letting them, get off the plane or the bus, and that is the end of the story. Okay? We hand them over with documentation to the Nigerian authorities, and they can then decide that they are going to take action, to prosecute them. Okay? So when it comes to romance scam, it is a complex story. So, for instance, in the case of those that we are faced with now, with Abu Trika being the latest one, all right, most of the victims are Americans. All right. In his case, the story is that the romance scam led to elderly Americans losing as much as 8 million United States of American dollars. And that is why the extradition request was made. All right. Now, we didn't investigate the crime itself. Okay. We didn't know lifestyle. You do a simple lifestyle audit. It can come up that this person must be getting illicit proceeds. That is why the person is living lavishly. To just all of a sudden receive a docket from the United States of America requesting for extradition, then we say, okay, you know what? We will retain the person here, take your evidence, and then go to court. In fact, the court will even fight us if we adopt that kind of approach. Okay, so it's a complex governmental decision to take. I know some of those people are fellow citizens who are engaged in the romance scam, and there is a school of thought that says that we should be lenient with them, but all crime is crime, and we need to hold everyone accountable who has engaged in criminal, conduct, and this is the way to go. Now, with respect to the cybersecurity bill, I must say that yes, my office is in charge of drafting, but we take instructions or drafting instructions from the ministries, departments, and agencies that want to change the status concerning or affecting their sectors or their agencies. All right. It is not every bill that I have the opportunity of reading from cover to cover, the legislative drafting division to send it to cabinet. Now, it is not, we can always advise an agency that a proposed amendment, including the right to freedom, of speech. All right, but where it is debatable, we defer to the ministry that is bringing the proposed amendment. So in this particular case, the bill has been laid. The bill is now the property of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Civil society organizations and individuals have made the case that certain aspects of the bill offend the Constitution, particularly the provisions relating to freedom of speech. I believe that amendments by committee members and by during the plenary, the consideration stage of the plenary, amendments will be proposed, and I believe that ultimately, okay, some of the deleterious provisions that have been complained about will be refashioned in a way that will conform to the Constitution. If I have the opportunity to re-examine the bill, and also even if it is passed, all right, I can tell the president not to sign it if I am convinced that the bill offends the Constitution and laws, existing laws of this country.
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Romeo Tete, and I report for Ahoto FM. AG, please, I want to know what will distinguish your tenure from that of your predecessors in terms of justice delivery and the rule of law. And secondly, at the end of your tenure, what single reform will you want Ghanaians to remember you for? Thank you.
Well, okay.
A quick update. I wanted to find out if there is any update on ex-Maslock CEO Sedinam Tamaklo, who was sentenced and is receiving treatment abroad. Anything we can get. Thank you.
Okay.
AG, I'm back again.
Yes,
AG,
you are welcome.
You responded, even though I don't have an opinion on it, but I think that I still disagree with you. But I'll move on to my next question, which still has to do with the Keno Foriata issue. There's a whole issue surrounding the OSP handling the prosecution or the case involving the former finance minister. And some have argued that, including civil society, that this case be handled by your office. As you have submitted a formal extradition request to the U.S. authorities, is it the case that you will consider handling this case from the office of the special prosecutor? Thank you.
Yes. Right. So the first twin questions related to my tenure as Attorney General. I think it's too early, I mean, for me to... I am consumed with work, consumed in making sure that the promises made by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in our NDC manifesto, especially in relation to oral, to stand tall and be justified for what he said to Ghanaians to get elected. So I don't even think about what Ghanaians will say is my best legacy, right? I work and I want to leave the work to speak for itself. I do my best and I leave the rest to God. So I'm not someone who is thinking about legacy. But if there's one thing that I individually championed and which the party itself took up very strongly, and Mr. President took it up very strongly, is professional legal education reform. And I think I've had the occasion to tell the media that I drafted a bill in opposition, optimistically waiting for His Excellency to come to power for us to implement the reforms. I have laid a bill in Parliament. We just had a meeting with the General Legal Counsel where I did a presentation of the new reforms that are contemplated by the bill. I think it is one thing that is going to transform professional legal education in Ghana, and if it is successful, I did. But other than that, I don't work and think about whether I'm going to... I just do my work as best as I can and ethically as possible, and then I leave the rest to be judged by the people of this country. Now, the other thing is about... The other question relates to the Maslock CU, the former Maslock Extradition. And I did indicate to Parliament that in July of 2024, the formal request for her extradition was put in by my predecessor, right? In other words, it was put in by my office. Now, the American authorities have, worked on it. Okay, they've worked on the extradition. The extradition proceedings have taken place in the United States. And we are expecting that, barring any appeal by her lawyers, she may, very soon be extradited to Ghana to serve her prison term. And in absentia, that will be another, angle to the matter. But that drama will be played out here on this side of the Atlantic and not in the United States of America. So that is all that I can say about her. I don't have any definitive information about when she will be, extradited, but Americans have indicated that they've completed the process. Now, Hanan wants to walk me into a controversy and trouble. I will avoid that controversy, right? Whether I should take over the Ken Ofori-Atta trial. The OSP is independent, statutorily so, of the Attorney General. The OSP prosecutes on the authority of the Attorney General in its law. All right? Unless there is any legally sound basis for the Attorney General to say he is interfering in the work of the OSP, all right, there cannot be any interference. I can't take over an investigation. I can't take over a prosecution. All right. Now, the reason why I had to do the extradition is because by law, I'm the central authority. Or let me put it this way, the office of the Attorney General is the central authority for extraditions. So it was unavoidable. The OSP cannot request for the Americans to bring Ken Ofori-Atta home. If he does, that will be legally flawed and it will just be a non-starter. As far as the Americans are concerned, they will just throw it away. All right. So the OSP had to work cooperatively with me, all right, in order for us to send this extradition package, to the United States of America. That is all. That's the limit of my authority. Beyond that, I cannot take over the prosecution just because I am the one, applying for the extradition to the from the Americans. Yeah, yes, I have heard the arguments that people are making. All right. Are they sound arguments? I don't know. I won't place any judgment on what they are saying. All right. But for me, the important thing is that the OSP has done its work. I have also done my work. And whether or not what the OSP is doing.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Attorney General, for this briefing. As he indicated, on Monday, he will be back here in same. So until then, thank you all for coming.